I imagine everybody knows most of the details about this. Omar Mateen, 29-year-old U.S. citizen, born in New York City. I believe, was it the Bronx? Not sure. Living in Florida for years. Reportedly married in 2009 for several months. His ex-wife, I guess they she was from New Jersey at the time, left him after several months when it became clear to her that there was something mentally wrong with him. She speculated that he was bipolar, said that he was using steroids, and was physically abusive towards her. So she got out of that relationship. Reportedly, he became more religious since that time. I guess not so religious as to not have a live-in girlfriend, and with whom he had a child, I believe. 3-year-old. According to his father, who also seems to be rather odd guy, to say the least. I mean, you can't make these assessments. I only can just report what's being reported. That Mateen was set off by seeing two men kiss in front of his child several months ago. He had supposedly, at least there's evidence that he had been staking out a different gay club via online. At least there's some evidence. He reportedly called police before he launched the attack and told them that he was swearing his allegiance to ISIS. There's no audio of that at this moment. One would imagine if that exists. Well, let's put it this way. One would imagine if that happened, then audio exists and that it would be released. Nevertheless, I mean, I think, Eric Rudolph, I suppose, could have called up the police, and he did, I think before the Olympic bombing. And he could have called up and said, I swear allegiance to the Pope. And it would have meant nothing other than the guy was a lunatic. So it's very odd the way this is being reported in many respects. Because I certainly think that you could classify this as terrorism, just like you would any other type of hate crime, whether it was an attack on a synagogue or a Hindu temple or a Sikh temple. Apparently, the guy who went into that church that day and shot everybody up, I can't remember his name now, off the top of my head. Apparently, he was not charged with terrorism. Although I think that you certainly could have argued that it was. I mean, this is a direct attack on, and there are three, I think, different definitions for terrorism. One having to do with attempting to change policy. One is to intimidate a specific group of civilians. Another involves the killing of civilians to leverage other things. I mean, off the top of my head, those are the three more or less elements. They don't all have to be there. Clearly, this guy was targeting gay people. If he had killed one or two people, let's put it this way. If the guy was a white guy and went in there and his name was Bill Jones and shot two people, I imagine at this point we wouldn't even call it terrorism. And if he had shot 50 people, maybe we'd have gotten to say that gay people are being terrorized. But the notion that this is Islamic radical terrorism, or whatever the words, the magic words that Donald Trump and morons out there want to call it is in my mind incorrect, inaccurate. I mean, look, we have a problem with fundamentalist religion of all stripes, and certainly we see violence perpetrated in the names of those religions. But here we have a non-coordinated attack, one which the guy only got support apparently from U.S. gun laws. And it is the case he had legal guns. Maybe we should just make weapons that are essentially civilian versions of an M16 illegal. I know that would cut into your ability to shoot up a deer and leave only just traces of its hide, or to really take it out of a target for target practice. I don't know about the legality of that. We do make grenades illegal for civilians to carry. And we also make anti-tank shoulder-fired missiles illegal for citizens to own in this country. Seems to me that one could classify this weapon that can kill 50 people as a military-style weapon, right? I mean, how do we dictate that? So hopefully we'll see more calls to just simply get rid of these type of weapons. Semi-automatic weapons that can be modified to be automatic, essentially, or can function to kill this many people. I don't know what you're hunting unless you're hunting like an entire herd of buffalo to take out at one time. But even the bomb that the Boston Marathon bombers used only killed 3 people. Obviously injured many more in a horrific ways. But I mean, this is, there is no way to combat the existence of people who have these type of mental issues and this type of hatred, cultural hatred, and bigotry of other people, whether it's they hate Jews or whether they hate gays or whether they hate black people or Latinos or Muslims. There's no way that we can prevent these people from existing and attempting to do something violent. There is one way in which we can mitigate the amount of violence they are able to execute. And that is, don't give them the tools to do it. It's why you can't walk into your Home Depot and buy dynamite. Can't use it for hunting, even though it would be fairly effective to get rodents. You could fish with dynamite. You just drop them into a pond. Just watch the fish rise to the top, belly up. But we don't do that because we're not a moronic society, and there just doesn't happen to be a huge dynamite lobby with multiple dynamite manufacturers who have paid millions of dollars. And it is true that in the past 8 years, nobody has said that dynamite constitutes a constitutional right, unlike individuals carrying guns, which the Supreme Court essentially not only ruled for the first time, but even contemplated for the first time in the past decade. Prior to that, virtually no contemplation that the Second Amendment was an individual right. And maybe we're maybe we're one Supreme Court away, a justice away with Scalia gone, and maybe we're just one more that needs to flip until we get there, where the court revisits. Say this is a poor decision. We're going to revisit it. Just in the way that they would have reversed Abood had Scalia not died, which would have basically kneecapped public sector unions. You can go back and you can look at, you can wait for another case to come up. Maybe the court just simply rules. Semi-automatic weapon is not contemplated by the Constitution. I would imagine that's not too hard for originalists and textualists because there were no semi-automatic weapons at that time. Right? I mean, if you're really worried about an original reading of the Constitution, were there semi-automatics at that time? Not to my knowledge. I don't think so. Everybody gets to carry a musket. You carry the little metal stick, pack the powder as you drop it down there, and then you put the lead pellet in there. So we'll see. But beyond that, I don't know what you do about something like this. Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.